Well, thank you. Hello, and thank you very much for coming back. Oh, it's so lovely to have you join us again. So please like, share, and subscribe because they're really trying to give it to us. You know what I mean? Down the old Jaxie. Come on. You ready? Let's see what we can see, huh? So it's the Tony Fauci email dump, huh? So the Biden administration is finally looking to fire little Tony Fauci. You know what I mean? We got to slip this one aside. He's run his course, you know? After there was an email dump this week showing all of his flip-flops, his inconsistencies on almost every decision during the pandemic, his ties to the lab in the woo-woo chew, excuse me, and the funding by proxy of gain-of-function research. I mean, huh? Naughty, naughty. So Senator Rand Paul is taking a victory lap across the screens of America, asking if Fauci should be under criminal investigation, as he lied and committed perjury while testifying to the world effectively under oath. And Rand added, he told me he wasn't involved in gain-of-function research, but admitted it in these emails. I'm not doing that to the public, but, oh my God, let's do more. Let's do more. Where's my hat? Where Fauci writes about the funding provided to the company EcoHealth Alliance, who then passed it to the woo-woo-woo-choo labs for their naughty hush-hush research. So technically, they didn't fund it directly, but I think we all know what happened. We all know what happened. So Rand Paul is demanding that Tony Flip-Flop Fauci is fired, saying he bears moral culpability for all of the ravages on society revealed by bombshell emails behind closed doors. And it's theatrical displays to the public, huh? So will there be an inquiry? Probably not. You know how it goes, huh? He'll just get an early retirement with a nice big pension that he can swim in. You know what I mean? I do a bit of butterfly in my pennies. And then he can write a book where he covers his ass before retreating from the world. I mean, it's AIDS, second line. We're back to Japanese baseball. COVID, second. Third time's a charm. Fauci. So what are the revelations discovered, huh? Come on, son. Let's have a little look-see. So let's start with one mask, two masks, red mask, blue mask, right? So early on, it was revealed that Tony Fauci was fibbing when he said that people should go on cruises and crazy Nancy Pelosi would say, come on down to Chinatown, mate. Come on, lick Chinese people. You bloody racists. And that there was no need to wear masks outside in public. And this was really because behind the scenes, he was worried that the general public would go out and panic buy a bunch of PPE, which we've seen with other products, you know what I mean? Leaving the medical professionals and hospitals short on any that they may need for the coming Wu flu. Risking the public's own safety and healthcare. With secret plans behind the scenes. I mean, no tinfoil hat here, my friends. I promise. Look. You're shit. Then he 180'd and told the public that everyone should wear a mask to stop the spread. Even though at this point, behind the scenes, the data in his comments and his emails were directly in contrast to his new change of mind. Ooh. In an email to Sylvia Burwell on the 5th of February, he said that masks are for the sick, not the healthy, and that shop boss masks are really not effective at keeping out the virus as they can't stop the virus to being too small. Like my penis. Except for perhaps his famous droplets, you know, droplets. And then he doesn't recommend wearing a mask. Then, as we all know, he went back and forth on one mask, then two masks, then back to one mask, but sometimes, all right? And don't get it bloody wrong. Like on those aeroplanes when you're just boozing it. Oh, fly me to Jamaica. But especially those toddlers. You know, you got to keep those toddlers in their place or chuck them off the plane. These BLM riots for a year, fine. But this restaurant with outdoor seating is going to kill your bloody grandma, all right? And Tony Fauci responded to these flip-flops by saying, I am the science. I am the science. So that's the end of that then, right? And we also have emails saying that the data and the science with many scientists, including those of the CCP's WHO, yeah? saying that lockdowns were more harm to the general public, to children's development, to small businesses, to the wider economy and the psyche of whole nations. With mental disorders increasing, increased alcoholism, increased drug use, you know what I mean, son? And domestic violence, which is bad, yeah, not as fun as the other one. With political and social tensions combining with nervous frustrations creating the large part of the civil unrest we see escalating further and faster day by day. Well, that was behind the scenes, all right? To the world at large, he ignored all of that, it, and he went from 15 days to flatten the curve to 15 months to enact a global reset. Huh? Nice one. Also revealed in these emails was the fact that after a person has been infected, that there is little to no chance of reinfection, even though he so vigorously argued the opposite with Rand Paul, under oath and to the world, saying to his friends and colleagues in the messages that once you were infected, you were done with it, and had a strong natural immunity to the virus post-infection. Where on March 4th, in an email to Ezekiel Emmanuel, he said that people who've had COVID or the vaccine are not spreading, that there's no evidence of reinfection, and that he's now comfortable not wearing a mask in public, even though he's been saying the complete bloody opposite to the public now for months. And lastly, we had the mother load, huh? The big... You just whip it out, the big one. The mother load of flip-flops, hush-hushes, sneaky-sneakies, and the whole we don't fucked ups you can carry. The woo-woo lab theory, huh? The leak that started back in the days of the Donald, with Trump saying that he had seen the evidence, which was instantly and vehemently dismissed as an exhibition of his overt racism and xenophobia on full display, and quickly hushed up by the media to protect their new saint, huh? Saint Fauci. With the director of the CDC itself, Robert Redfield. I know, huh? It's funny that, isn't it? You think his parents did it on purpose, huh? I mean, anyway. All right. With the classic actor, contemporary CDC director, admitting publicly that he had received death threats from fellow scientists and, well, friendly colleagues, when he suggested near the start of the outbreak that it may have originated from a lab leak in Wuhan, where gain-of-function research was taking place, where 80,000 bats in the bloody region were tested, showing no signs of the virus, and were naturally located or a thousand miles away, and would have been hibernating at the bloody time. It's now being reported that there wasn't even evidence of any bats or pangolins, you know, those weird bendy round things, being sold at the Wuhan wet markets before the pandemic started. This, an Oxford study has just released. I mean, they might have found one or two, right? Who knows what these... what is this? It's bat stuffed, eel stuffed, jellyfish stuffed avocado. Maybe. And where scientists are saying that the virus itself looked to be engineered and not of natural evolution. No, you're crazy. Trump's crazy. Well, of course. These scientists over here, you're crazy. These doctors, they're just out of their bloody minds, yeah? Ban them, cancel them, shun them, exile and shame them. So say this mainstream media, and so say big tech. All completely unbiased, of course. I am a fair man to all of you. With emails on January 31st now showing Tony Fauci behind the scenes concerned and bloody scrambling to determine whether the US was actively funding the gain-of-function research abroad and in this very lab. With virologists saying to him that the virus looks engineered, inconsistent with evolutionary theory and natural progression. Where in The Point, which, I don't know, magazine, right? On May 5th, 2020... it was reported that Fauci crushed Donald Trump's theory on the COVID origins. And on May 23rd, 2021, just a year later, 1 year, Fox News reported that Fauci is, I'm not convinced that COVID-19 developed naturally. What? Also behind the scenes, we learned that he was being thanked by the heads of the Wuhan lab and the EcoHealth Alliance, who is the company that donates the money for all this shady research. You know what I mean? That Fauci's sending him, just stick it in there. Don't worry about it. Peter Daszak and Jin-Hun Hui. Jin-Hun Hui. For downplaying the lab leak theory with YouTube, Twitter and Facebook and Google, all banning and cancelling left, right and centre, truth, science or expertise be damned, right? Where he was being told not to investigate the origins of the pandemic as it will just open a can of worms, huh? in regards to the US funding of this exact research at this exact lab, creating massive tensions with China, who, in a side note, have now told its citizens that if Biden launches a probe into the virus's origins, that we got to be prepared for nuclear war. For nuclear war, my friend. All of this playing out behind the scenes after the public being told so many lies for so long and at such a high cost to everything. The people paying the price, not China, not these crooked scientists or the elites in the mainstream media that flew their flag so brightly, while we suffered, and toiled and stayed in our houses with a mask, but over every hole. Your children missing out on their formulating years, their great adventures and life-changing relationships, your loved ones passing on to the next world without your blessings, your touch and tears. Your marriages delayed or dismissed and discarded, your businesses looted, destroyed or bankrupted, all while they did and said the complete opposite for so long. I mean, it's bloody shocking. So why did they do it, You want to know the fucking secrets? Fear of China. Both of our reliance on their money, Disney, NBA, Nike, all the evil ones with pride flags on their Twitter. And at the fear from their escalating global dominance and power they're exerting. They did it because they hated Donald Trump with all their tiny little black hearts. Desperate to call him a racist, a sexist, a phobe this and a phobe that. So desperate to punish him and those that followed him, that they would punish the world and all those within it. A lot of the times, the mainstream media being so grossly fat, lazy, and drunk. Can't be bothered. Drunk with their own power and a total lack of accountability at every step, not being even bothered to check. Just do a little digging, son. Just do a little digging, investigating before just dismissing it. Do a little journalism. Instead, they're willing to destroy, censor, and shut down every possibility while blindly listening to their one and only source, their one and only savior, their one and only saint, Tony Fauci. Pushing agenda over truth, Agenda over truth. Agenda over truth. Pushing agenda over truth, covering his and their own asses, their blunders, over the healthcare of the people. And making sure to resolve their conflicts of interest well before releasing pent-up public back onto the streets again. To eat cicadas, Yeah, live in a pod, eat cicadas, look at the screen and don't talk to each other. The box has been opened, my friends. And the fire has been lit. And secrets are bubbling up to the surface of that dark, dark swamp. Andy, yes? No? Maybe? Let's have a look. So this whole situation has been escalated by the dreaded attack of the commentator's curse. Oh, they're doing so well and oh no, they put in a goal. Shit. All surrounding the actions and subsequent consequences of one man. And that man is Andy No. A journalist who has dedicated the best part of a decade to exposing the members, its tactics, its supporters, and its infiltration into our mainstream institutions by Antifa. An organisation that many have said doesn't exist from the craziest egg, a crazy egg, all the way up to the highest positions of power. Even though Antifa regularly organise, they have shops with merch, fight the power, merch, these communists. They have meetings planned on social media and then routinely attack peaceful communities, destroy public and private property, looting as they go, setting fires and just creating chaos, exemplified by the riots for the last year across large parts of the Western world, not just America. Coupled with the fact that this happens every time, in every country, at every protest they turn up to. Damage. All this violence and destruction to affect political change, effectively self-identifying themselves as domestic terrorists. Looking to push their identity Marxism on the rest of a mostly happy and functioning society. It's just a good thing they're not real then, So Andy No has become famous from his work, publishing books and articles and talking at great lengths about the subject in many countries, going undercover in some of the most deadly situations. I'm Danny Dyer. These are deadly situations. To report the secrets from inside. Well, sadly, he's been attacked again. And I say again because he was attacked once before by an Antifa mob who beat him so badly the first time that he had a brain hemorrhage. All of his possessions were stolen, and he was lucky to walk out of that situation alive. And the latest attack happened with Andy's disguise being uncovered at a low-level protest. Him trying to run for it, but he was tackled to the ground and set on by multiple attackers, only being able to crawl away because they were briefly distracted at one point, before they chased him into a hotel where he was able to take refuge. With the Antifa mob screaming for his blood, trying to break into the hotel staff saying that because he wasn't wearing a bloody mask, you know, blood this, that, screaming, hiding, this, that, pounding, he's going to have to leave. No, full well what was waiting for him through those screeching and pounding doors. And after a while, he was able to convince them to let him out a back exit where he was able to escape and receive medical treatment for his multiple cuts, bruises, and bloody eye. All right. Whoa. Whoa. Those are the details. Now, what's the fallout? Well, the fallout in New Vegas between the political and cultural commentators and their takes on the whole thing. Well, more like Tim Pool and a few others kind of versus everyone else. Now, let me just say that I'm a big fan of all these guys. Tim Pool being one of the best commentators and fact analyzers out there. And a true contribution to truth. The Logos. Probably awakening of thousands of people to what's happening in the culture wars and even the wider issues at large. But these guys, bloody hell, they don't half bicker like old women across a garden fence. And the funny thing is, they're all right. At least their points are valid. Did you hear what was going on over there? I did hear that. I did. Did you hear what was going on over there? Yeah, I didn't like that. But did you hear this? Oh, no, I didn't. So Tim Pool's take on the whole thing was that there was effectively no good reason except for the fact that it was revealed that he was asked to write a new chapter for his best-selling book about Antifa by his publisher, which Pool accepted when he found out. But otherwise, there was no good reason for Andy to be on the ground himself simply due to his fame. His notoriety for his amazing work on exposing many of the inner and outer workings of this terrorist mob. The fact that he has to move from city to city, country to country, to avoid being discovered and killed, it's just not viable, at least not worth the risk. For him to be out there on his own anymore, trying to do this undercover journalism and cultural espionage. That's cool, that, huh? Cultural espionage. I like that term. It's just too risky as he's literally being hunted at these events now. You know what LeBron James says about being hunted? Yeah, that's bullshit. This is actually true. He's one of Antifa's largest targets, with them spray painting in multiple cities the word "Kill Andy No" and the likes on walls as they riot. Kill Andy No. Underline, smiley face. And other such horrible messages to him as they riot. The goal of a journalist is to report the story, says Tim Pool, not become the story, whether on purpose or not. And it seems that Andy, through his fame or perhaps his infamy, cannot or should not risk himself or covering up what could be exposed. We need to see this just by being there. Okay, so perhaps he should be able to go freely and legally, openly able to report, right? Yes. But sadly, that's just not how the world works, fair or not. These being the realities of conflicts and the dangers where personal responsibility and common sense, they have to eventually become a factor. Perhaps hiring security or employing new unknown journalists to do the work for him and provide him with the footage to correlate and report on. All of these being correct. I mean, it's kind of hard to find anything wrong with that when you look at it, each aspect in turn. Right? So the arguments or the takes of those who disagree with Tim Pool all can be combined into roughly these. Now, they have said that repeatedly putting yourself in harm's way is not something that they would necessarily do, but he should be allowed to do it if he chooses, openly and freely. That knows journalism has led to so many discoveries and arrests alongside bringing the radical movement to the surface of public perception, that though the story this time has become about him and his attack, and his personality, They also show the story far and wide, with him trending on Twitter and broadcasting across all screens and social media for those who want to see him or come by him by chance, bringing attention to his cause, the crimes and damage committed by Antifa and its extremist mindset. He did nothing wrong, should be allowed to walk on public property freely, even if admittedly a little crazy, a little egotistical, and perhaps monetarily incentivized. Give me that money, give me that money, oh, give me that money. And even if he sent someone out there and they got hurt, he would be responsible for their injuries or death, rather than taking on the risk himself. All of this he should be allowed to do, with Tim Pool's argument sounding like blaming the victim rather than the criminal. You got titties? It was your fault. And yes, of course, he should theoretically be allowed to do all of that. Theoretically. All this is and can be true at the same time, and one argument effectively leads to the other. As critics say, he should be able. You should be able and free of risk to do all that, yes. But then after that, Tim Pool says, once you get too famous for exposing a radical and extreme topic, the risk outweighs the rewards, and you either have to switch to a new topic to report on, or find increasingly new and escalating strategies to effectively continue your work. Like Hunter S. Thompson with the Hells Angels, you either get killed or run away just before you do. And one argument leads to the other. You know what I mean? All are true, and maybe we've just been cooped up, cooped up for a little bit too long. But anyway, Andy, get well soon, you crazy son of a bitch. Nobody no cry, say, oh nobody no cry. So Kamala Harris perhaps gave one of the worst answers to a question seen in many years, followed by her signature Joker cackle to Lester Holt when asked if she had any plan to visit the border and the crisis that is escalating day by day, as we can see here.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Now, this is perhaps one of the creepiest and most unlikable reactions to a question that you can't answer that there is, and one that she falls back on constantly when she finds herself in a sticky pickle. So obviously, the follow-up questions to that ridiculous answer would be yes. Yes, but we don't have a migration crisis coming from the shores of Europe, where little Swedish children are being kept in cages and the Irish are fighting the ICE officers and our institutions. Though I wouldn't put it past those sneaky Irish, eh? Another question you might ask is, does the US have a border with Europe? One where a surge of people are but feet away from your land, of your country, where coyotes smuggle and children are bundled across the border under cover of night. And also say, maybe yes, do some travelling, get out there, talk to some people, see some different sites, situations and solutions. If not for now, but for something that may just occur in the times ahead. Planning for the future. But no, unfortunately not. No, she mumbles something about root causes. Mumble, mumble, maybe in the future. Mumble, mumble, Trump. Mumble, 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 systemic racism. Mumble, 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 white man's evil. White devil. With everyone's favourite soulless ginger, Saki, saying that maybe she will go to the border at some point, sometime. Next year, sometime, maybe. And next question. Avoiding that photo op of her walking by all those cages that she blamed on Trump, that in fact started under Obama and got worse under Biden, eh? So again, instead of making her way with her tail between her legs down to the border to address the serious escalating crisis and do her actual job as border czar, she's bloody border czar. Joker cackle, you see? I mean, whatever that is, right? And they're not even hiding using those lovely old Soviet terms anymore, Comrade, yes, da, comrade, see, yes, za, she is za. Well, she's done a runner to Guatemala. But unfortunately, she didn't get the warm South American reception she was expecting. Ah, welcome to South America. When she arrived to deliver her first speech ever delivered overseas. And as she drove from the airport, she was greeted with signs from the locals reading, Kamala, Trump won. Kamala, go home. Ironically, they're telling her to piss off back home. And my favourite, my absolute favourite, Kamala, mind your own business. Obviously made by someone who has spent a little bit of time in England. Yeah, mind your own business. With the president of Guatemala blaming the Biden administration and their policies of family reunification. One more time. Of family reunification and moratoriums on deportations, meaning the coyote, as she likes to call it, are smuggling more than ever. And children are being swept up, used and abused, and then abandoned in the process. And it's only getting worse, So contrary to everything the Democrats, the left, and the current Biden administration has been saying for bloody years now, she took the time in her speech to say to the people of Guatemala, do not come.
At the same time, I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border. There are legal methods by which migration can and should occur.
Surprising everyone who's been following for any length of time with its stunning hypocrisy, employing Trumpian tactics and a full 180 on the policies and narratives that they've been espousing for all this time. I mean, I almost didn't believe my lying eyes. And it is. You're all bullshit. Get out of my head. Get out of my head! Also using the term coyote, where everyone on the left who didn't know what that actually meant, a year ago, called Trump a retard for referring to animals. Now it seems to be commonplace and part of the vernacular. Over years, everyone's been simply talking about coyotes these days, don't you know? Yeah. Well, la-di-da. And everything's backwards and inside out these days with these troublesome and blundering people. A statement I'm sure has been said 1,000 times. Right? 1,000 times throughout history whenever it seems particularly relevant. With the Democrats, the mainstream media and big tech's complete vitriol and pure Trump derangement syndrome. That they would obfuscate and reframe any narrative, crisis or situation only to fit their agenda and nothing else. Forget truth, sanity and the people that they claim that they are helping. We're helping you with bullets and guillotines. Come and trust us, aye? Simply to call Trump a racist and a sexist, huh? Oh, how boring. All the while paving that road to hell with those supposed good intentions. But it turns out that the costs are a pretty penny. Got a couple of quid. You got some money, please? I just need a coin for the poor. A coin for the poor. And now you have to pay the cost of basing a whole campaign solely on the principle of hating someone, not developing answers and solutions. And though you will all try to hide it and move on. What? What isn't that? What, under this arm? There's nothing there. Look. Oh, what, this arm? There's nothing there, mate. No accountability, no corrections, no responsibility. Just banning and slandering and blaming the truth speakers, the whistleblowers and the brave last few, and continue to present and print the big lie over and over. Digging that inevitable grave, huh? You're just digging it ever deeper. And eventually, the bell will toll for thee, my friends. And as tolls go, it's going to be a biggie. Bang! So now, we have the trans mafia push, yeah? Forget about it. So rather than doing an in-depth breakdown of all the trans mafia, we're just going to have a gander, a little walk and a little stroll at where and how the Marxist identitarians are pushing their critical gender theory, similar to critical race theory in its attempt to destroy the nuclear family, but this time focused on what's between your pants. Or not. A biological sex and female-destroying ideology, mostly targeting the young through woke cartoons, commercials, and their teachers. You're a bastard. in school. Which all seem to be getting worse and worse day by day until what? Huh? What's the end goal, you think? Well, let's have a look and see what we can see, huh? So first up, let's have a little look at the cartoons and show that your little ones are watching while you're out the room, busy. So how about Blue's Clues, huh? A show aimed at the very young, perhaps 3 to 6 year olds, where you learn about letters and numbers and the sexual habits of adults.
Hey, Blue, look at all these families. Hi, families. It's time for a pride parade. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. This family has 2 mommies. They love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade.
Now let's have a look at the Nickelodeon network, targeting a slightly older audience this time, with such classics as Doug, Rugrats, and Cat Dog. And now drag queens, pushing the communist red salute and critical gender theory.
Baby blue, pink and white represent transgender people, because every letter in LGBTQ plus is equal. And black and brown represent the queer and trans people of color.
And how about Drag Time Story Time, where a convicted paedophile who was dressed up in full drag was reading stories to babies and toddlers? Or the myriad of woke commercials pumped out hour by hour, pushing race and gender politics in the faces of the young and the impressionable. Now, just to say that there was this time in my childhood where I was absolutely convinced if I could just get hold of some of this radioactive waste that everyone just kept talking about in all these comic books, finally I'd be able to unleash my hidden superpower and become the hero I was destined to be. And thank goodness, my friend, no one ever took me seriously and poured toxic waste all over me. Where we now have babies and trans children, you know what I mean? Little tiny ones who have no idea, they just want sausages and to kick footballs and play. Basically, that means you have regular children who have a parent or two that have become completely indoctrinated by the woke cultists and have projected this gender ideology onto their own child. Then as a virtue signal, I am so virtuous. Light shines out my ass. Then as a virtue signal to double down on the whole affair, they have their child surgically altered to fit their own perception, regardless of the costs or the casualties down the line. There are now trans girls dominating female sports, with runners smashing records, handball players trampling over those in the way, and weightlifters the size of fucking mountains who are trying to compete at the Tokyo Olympics. Hold that, babe. With any of the biological women, or just women, who try to raise the unfairness and differences between the body structures of actual women and a man who has been taking estrogens for 3 months, grown his hair out and not chopped his balls off yet. Well, they've just told to shut the fuck up and be quiet, all right? And keep those pretty little lips shut, if you know what's good for you. Though increasingly we see the young, the scared, and the truly brave speaking out against the injustice that is being foisted upon them, much to the hatred of the mainstream media and far left and the liberals that used to be. Where we're now finding out that one of the most interesting revelations that the pandemic has laid upon us is the widespread teachers' anger at parents listening in on the Zoom lessons that they give to the students during quarantine, and everybody realizing, seeing for themselves, that they were hardly even studying the subjects at hand. Teacher, we're doing maths, right? Why are you talking about my balls? Hardly even studying the subjects at hand, but rather each teacher was taking it in turn to indoctrinate your children with critical race or gender theory, both, constantly and repeatedly, with multiple teachers who you pay through your taxes or privately, filmed freaking the fuck out and screaming at your children when they dare to ask a question or challenge any one of their terrible ideas. Treating you, the parents, as the enemy, and your children to be kept as far away from you as possible, and the principles that you may hold, whatever they may be. The teachers and those sneaking into politics and their social media posts, their emails, their bios, and the content that they show are all pro-critical race theory and critical gender theory. They are full-out self-admitted Marxists most of the time, along with being on the radical left, with pronouns in their bios: he, she, him, attack helicopter, they, them, slug, tomato, bullshit. With pronouns in their bios alongside black fist emojis and punch Nazis under rainbow flags, because they want your children to be as anti-patriotic as they are, by teaching them a fake and debunked version of history, the 1619 Project, tearing down the statues of your heroes and your founders, deriding your greatest achievements, and isolating the children from their families. Like every f***ing good cult does. Other countries are banning wokeness, critical race theory and critical gender theory, and even feminism outright, instead promoting the wonders and benefits of both masculinity and femininity. Wanting racial harmony and traditional family values and rights for all, where these bloody lunatics in the West have started a war on boys, denigrating all masculinity as toxic, all men as stupid, and all of whiteness as a literal health crisis to be eradicated. Now, I am not pro any race, but the minute one race of people start saying that they want to eradicate another race of people, whichever ones they are, red guys versus purple, blue versus indigo, and all the rest, yeah? I think we should just all start to pay attention to it, yeah? And just start to slightly get concerned, all right? With the president of the United States using the fucking term birth people rather than woman. Woman, you know a woman. I got to be a woman. I got the feeling of transphobe. The Stonewalls organisation starting a bloody extortion racket where they go to companies, tell them to give them money to vet their policies regarding diversity and equity, or they will scream to the news that they're bloody far right. A law student being cleared of misconduct after daring to utter the phrase that women have vaginas. At a lecture she was given. The feminists who championed and actually progressed the cause of the past have been excommunicated by the young and the stupid, being labelled as TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists. So goodbye to you lot too. Piss off. With Rand Paul, one of the only good ones left, man, with the crazy hair, boop, has been arguing in the Senate with Rachel Levine, a trans person themselves, yeah? And Biden's nominee for Assistant Health Secretary, who is unsurprisingly pro-trans surgery on young children. And all this alongside women being sexually assaulted by men who identify as women in women's prisons and women's refuges and women's toilets. Knocked that one out of the park, didn't I, son? All while your achievements, ladies. You lovely, lovely ladies. We love you all, you know that. All of you. Delicious. While all your achievements are being crushed and rewritten, and your children are being force-fed this rubbish more and more. So I'm sorry, ladies, my little sweet ladies, my sweet, sweet lady. Your kindness was just weakness, and it seems you effectively destroyed yourselves with this one, babes. Alongside all of those good men that you would have helped you, but you railroaded them, calling them toxic, huh? Ah, bloody hell. All right. Let's hope this one's not too late too. So in the Quickie section this week, it's going to be fast and fucking furious, baby. And I'm not talking about cars and retards. It's about family. More like Obama and his administration selling guns to Mexican drug cartels. That kind of fucking fast. So a psychiatrist gives a psychotic speech. Yes. So a doctor, I repeat, Aruna Kilananan gave a lecture to Yale University students on the psychology of whiteness, where the New York-based psychiatrist openly admitted having fantasies about unloading a revolver into the head of any white person who got in the way. Burying the body and wiping her bloody hands as I walk away relatively guiltless with a bounce in my step, like I did the world a fucking favour. So Killanana, now she's saying that, that was taken out of context, man. Whew. All that with the thing and the thing and the thing and the wiping and the kid and skipping away, all out of context. With everyone just misunderstanding her graphic imagery and all the mainstream media trying to hush, sneaky, hush, this one under the rug as quickly as possible. Nothing to see here. Move along, people. Nothing to see here. I think this PsychoPsych has to stand up straight and what? Go home and tidy up a room. You heard him. So black people can't be racist, didn't you know? Said a black guy to an Asian cop after yelling 697 racial slurs at him, including and saying that he's not even from this country. Another example of the black on Asian hate crimes that the mainstream media is just trying to push on the public as a result of the dreaded white supremacy. You know, the thing that no one can ever really find or show a real current example of, because they agree with the Marxist identitarian premise that racism is based on power dynamics, and therefore, you know, power. Black people are just all seen as Dave Chappelle crackheads in their eyes, therefore can never be racist. Just forget what you see with your own lying eyes and ears, yeah? Those black on Asian hate crimes you see reported more and more. Yeah, well, that's just white supremacy, yeah? You fucking bigot. So Italy bans communism. I mean, Italy. I go to America. Vive in America. Got to live in America. The fat fool at hala ciao. So Italy is such a strange, wonderful place and people. They have thus taken the interesting step of outright banning communism and Islamic extremism, using their laws and on the prohibition of fascism because of their, you know, their historical flirtations with the old. I can't describe that funnily without getting death threats. To group both these harmful ideologies under the umbrella and eliminate it. I mean, it's a unique way to address a problem that is plaguing the West right now, but it's almost impossible to do. I mean, you can't really change what's in their bloody nut box, you know what I mean? You'll eventually find yourself burning books and literature, which always leads one down a dark and scary path. And atrocities will be enacted on the principles of political and ideological beliefs. This will not work. Better let them speak freely. Locate where it comes from and who's listening. Watch through surveillance. Challenge the ideas with those of your own society guided by better and freer principles. And if they then escalate to that of a crime, then sling them in the fucking nick. I mean, these people are a threat, right? And a pain in the ass. But you can't fight fascism with fascism. I mean, look what's happening in America right now, hey? So French President Emmanuel Macron is slapped in the face by a medieval wizard. Yes, you heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. So Macron, eager to meet his adore in public, jogged happily up to the group waiting for him and was immediately slapped in the face for his troubles by Damien Terrell, a medieval reenactment enthusiast who lives with his mother and is a self-described anarchist and gaming nerd. Well, he slapped the president, perhaps wanting to initiate a duel. But was swiftly taken down by about 30 security guards while he yelled, "Abbas la Macronie!" or "Down with Macronia." Sounds like most of my mates, really. Grooming? Pfft, no big deal, mate. So one of the Rochdale grooming gang members, one of many religious and race-based paedophile rape gangs that sprung up in multiple cities around the UK, affecting hundreds of young, white, troubled, impressionable girls, which was allowed to happen by the police and the press for many years, just so they wouldn't seem racist. Your daughters be damned. With many horrific stories of fathers being arrested, trying to get their daughters who were being drugged and sexually abused away from these gangs in the dens. Yeah, they were done. Well, Adil Khan, 51, who got a 13-year-old pregnant through sexual abuse and then trafficked another 15-year-old girl to a different group of men when she complained of violence, you know. And that's just all we know of. How do you think of violence? Why you speak of violence? Huh? We are getting tired of your bitching. You must go to other people. Well, Adil has said, we have not committed any crime. It is not a big crime. And claims it would be a breach of his human rights to be sent back to Pakistan after being sentenced to deportation last July for his crimes and for the good of the public. My friend, it is not a big crime. Come, my friend, let's drink tea. Come, you like carpet? So the UK doesn't have guns, right? Well, the criminals do. And we have had another big shooting in London. This being days after the BLM activist Sasha Johnson was shot in the head in the garden by a gang, and adding to the 4 people killed in suspected murders since Friday. The unnamed 17-year-old was shot in Tulse Hill on Sunday night. A 28-year-old was shot in Leytonstone Monday morning. A 40-year-old was stabbed to death in Stratford on Monday morning. And Sadiq Khan, the tiny little awful woke mayor of London, has said this is a terrible tragedy, but you can all fuck off and let me get on with painting rainbow flags across the roads. Yeah? So the Hunter Biden text. So the president's son has again been caught doing something really fucking stupid. Again. That would get any other person on the planet cancelled while he just skips around freely. You know what I mean? One thing to another. I'm gonna wreck it. I'm gonna sniff it. While he skips around freely and allegedly from shady job at Burisma to his underage niece in bed to relationships with the spy chief of China and into his dead brother's newly widowed wife's knickers with a bong full of fentanyl-laced Parmesan cheese. Oh, it's good to be the president's son. Well, he's been caught sending racial texts to his white lawyer talking drug-fueled nonsense and calling him with the A, not the hard R, like it matters, multiple times. This, once again, found in the laptop of hidden treasures that Biden Jr. forgot to pick up from a repair shop. The repairman saying he was pretty much high. Bruv, he was mash up when he came in. He spat on the form, took a shit in the corner, and never saw him again. So I've been thinking about this. I might just stop criticising the guy and just hang out with the guy. He sounds like a fucking barrel of laughs. If you can't convict him, join him. So Microsoft president warns of AI Big Brother. It's coming. Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, has warned the world that if lawmakers don't protect the public against AI, it could be difficult to catch up with the rapidly developing technology. And effectively, life as depicted in George Orwell's 1984, quote, could come to pass in 2024. Well, that's absolutely terrifying, or he's just mental. With the government's increasing use of AI to monitor its citizens, especially China, we want to see into their minds, which could lead to the threat on democracy itself in as little as 4 years. So I guess we should all just get ready to live in a pod, huh? A microchip in our head, eating cicadas and looking at a screen for 24 hours a day, huh? Oh, I don't want to live in a pod. So the GoFundMe for Abuela has been rejected. So the awful politician, AOC, never missing a bloody opportunity, to bash Trump, the country, or just be a racist and socialist, posted a photo on social media of her grandmother's ramshackle house in South America, blaming it on Trump's policy. Whatever. I mean, she's crazy, right? Forgetting she lives in a penthouse flat in New York City, makes a shitload of money from the government, and drives a Tesla. So conservative commentator Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire started a GoFundMe charity donations page for the politician's abuela. My abuela is a starving, though I make her money. Saying it was shameful how the wealthy congresswoman let her poor old grandmother live in these conditions. Within one day, the page raised over 125 grand. Far over what was expected, but sadly, and only out of spite, AOC rejected the offer, and all the money calling it a hate-filled attack by the far right and leaving her poor relative stuck without a fix. Well, if that's the kind of attacks the far right supremacists carry out these days, well, can I get one? Because I am fucking skint, mate. I got nothing. So why don't we end on something light, huh? 2 little light, fun, mental stories, huh? And our first, man, that's far out. That's a far out tale right there. That's the one far out, beauty bone, far out, man, no ding dang, far out. In our first far out tale, A chicken nugget that slightly resembles a character from an on-fire video game at the moment, Among Us, has sold for $99,997 on eBay. Yeah, you fucking heard that right. A chicken nugget. Now, when the original owner discovered the likeness, they took a picture of it, stuck it on eBay for 99 cents, popped it in the freezer, and the rest is history. So some Saudi prince, or probably that idiot Logan Paul, now owns the most expensive chicken nugget in the world. But hang on. Would you eat it? Would you eat it? And lastly, nothing like American Pie? Well, it's been cancelled. Yeah, the dish, not the song, but don't hold your breath, all right? They're coming for that too at some point. So the culinary dish has been linked to cultural appropriation by this fucking idiot, Raj Patel. I mean, first they took your derb, and then they take your apple pie, America. This is getting real. It's getting real. Well, that's it. That's episode 6, man. We are all wrapped up and ready to go. And there's a lot of stuff coming next week. We can feel it in my fucking plum. I can feel it in my plums. So please like, share, and subscribe because it's taken a lot of work and it's just little old me, man. It's just little old me. So any appreciation, comments, or anything, hey, it'd be appreciated. Join me next time. Let's see what we can see, huh?